Hello everybody, my name is Jared and today we're going to be doing a work log for Dabi from Boku no Hero Academia. I hope you guys will enjoy it. It's not going to be like a big mess of things like the Yukata videos, and I hope that you guys will find it helpful. It should be pretty helpful if you're not used to manipulating patterns or changing the structure of patterns, as it's a really basic one to start you off on that sort of thing, as well as tailoring things like jackets. So without further ado, let's go! Now, Dabi's coat structure actually has a lot of interesting details to it. He has very exaggerated shoulders, which I would probably exaggerate in the costume by using really structured shoulders with possibly shoulder pads. The sleeves of his jacket end just above his elbows. The coat itself is very long, it goes straight past his mid-calf. It's very fitted around his chest, waist, and then flows out from the lower part of his waist. It is open, and size-wise it could not actually close over his chest. It also has a stiff popped collar that is never folded down. Now, to create this actual silhouette of the jacket, I have used the pattern Simplicity's pattern 8235, as it's a long coat with a collar that is popped in a similar structure, and the structure of the jacket is just very similar to the actual jacket itself. I will restructure the pattern to change the details on this coat to fit more closely the actual silhouette of the jacket, and so it's important to make a mock-up when you actually first start. It is important to make a mock-up of any costume, but particularly if you're going to be modifying the pattern, there's no way to easily do that without actually making a mock-up. Now, if you've never heard of a mock-up is essentially just making the costume twice, but the original version that you make is going to be made out of a cheaper pattern that you're not actually going to be using. To make a mock-up, you first cut all of the pattern pieces out in a fabric that is a similar texture and stiffness to your actual fabric, but usually I would recommend using one that's considerably cheaper, because this one is just going to be thrown away most likely. Once you have all of your pattern pieces cut out, you are literally just going to pin together the entire piece, tack it with a loose tack, and then finally you should have essentially a unlined, completely put together version of the jacket that would have come just straight from the pattern. The way I put these together was down the back seam, down the side seam that joins the top front to the top back, along the top shoulder seam, the top sleeve to the bottom sleeve, the bottom back down the spine, the bottom front down the sides, so those are attaching to the bottom back, the sleeves into the shoulder hole, and then the top onto the bottom skirt part.
This is the easiest way I found to actually construct the jacket in the pinning and tacking phase. I then modified the jacket to fit my brief more specifically. The way I did this was I cut the sleeves to the correct length, I took the waist in to better fit the wearer's measurements. I also cut away some of the fabric that sits at the front so that the jacket would go straight from collar into the jacket, but also it would have that hanging open effect and wouldn't look like it would close at the front. I don't want too much fabric distracting from the rest of the outfit at the front. Then I disassembled all of the pieces, and I only kept one side of the actual new mock-up, mainly because I wanted it to be completely symmetrical, and then if you've done this correctly you should be able to use the patterns to draft your own new paper patterns, and you would just cut doubles of all of those. So here what I did was I wrote onto the fabric piece as I disassembled it what fabric it was and where it would sit, just purely so I don't lose track of what the pattern actually is. I then placed each of them onto paper, traced them and added a seam allowance to areas like darts, sleeve edges, and anywhere that's going to need an extra hem allowance. Then you've finished drafting the pattern that you will need to make your actual jacket in the next part. Constructing the jacket and making the armour is going to be our next section.
Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this one. Also, if anyone's like weirded out by where I am right now, I'm currently filming in my hall because my fiance actually is asleep in the other room. He works nights, so I have to be kind of quiet. Shh. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, please remember to be creepy.